You're listening to Turi Writers' She Said What podcast. I'm Turi, along with Marcy Persky. In this installment, that medical device they're selling you, it really is a medical device. Also, the whack person you met at the party, and remembering AM radio's Art Bell, whose listeners believed everything.
We had a great time, but it's always nice to be home.
Yeah, that is a good feeling. Coming home is good. Today's news from here, I have graduated occupational therapy. And there is, thank you, and there is a device that I can buy. Sometimes people name products without, I think, really thinking about what it sounds like. There is a like a rolling, it actually looks like a pair of guys' testicles is what it looks like. And even more unfortunately, it is named, let's see.
While you're looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a good one too. So I found out that my last surgery 8 months ago hasn't even started to heal.
Oh.
So they want me to get a bone growth simulator.
That sounds
That sounds dirty.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Bone growth simulator or bone growth stimulator, either one sounds filthy.
Especially if it was for a guy. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Maybe you've been deleting all those ads.
Maybe.
Thinking.
And I
all this time you thought they were trying to grow you a new organ, but in point of fact, these are genuine, legit medical devices trying to help you with your broken arm.
A bone growth stimulator. And it says, and I looked everywhere too because I thought it was
Terrible.
a joke.
Yeah, well, I would delete it.
It's not a joke. It's a real thing. Yes, what's yours?
It's called a cervical peanut.
And so I have the bone and you have the cervix.
Right. Between the two of us, it's just, we've got it all covered. But the cervical peanut, and I asked the, and by the way, if you tried to put this thing anywhere near the cervix that we know and love, you would be in the emergency room. It's like two very large hard rubber tennis balls with a tiny little bridge between them that you roll your arm to massage it after your therapy. But here's the thing, when the physical therapist or the occupational therapist called it a cervical peanut, for 3 weeks, I couldn't stand to tell her that I thought she was saying a cervical penis. And I just finally, on my last day of my last therapy appointment, I said, it sounds a lot like you're saying cervical penis. It took me a few weeks. And she turned bright red, and the guy doing exercises across from me turned bright red. And
good name for a punk rock band.
Cervical peanut?
Cervical penis.
They won't post your ad on Twitter. They'll ban it. They won't.
Who cares about Twitter? What's the price on this cervical peanut?
Oh, I can tell you that the cervical peanut, I just looked at it. The peanut roller for back pain is what they first called it. The peanut ball, they called it. But why they call it a cervical peanut, I don't know. I don't know why she calls it a cervical peanut, because they've apparently gotten the memo that that was a bad idea. And so now they're just calling it the peanut massage ball. But I have to tell you, it just looks like a pair of them. That's what it looks like. Why she called it a cervical peanut, I don't know.
Mine comes in at the bargain low price of $2,500.
Holy smokes. This is the bone growth stimulator. That's literally like 1,000 times more than the cervical peanut, which costs about, depending on where you buy it, $17 to $25.
Holy crap, I want one of yours. I was going to tell you, why not just use a rolling pin?
You have to have the balls, you should pardon the expression. This is just...
This is immature talk for mature audiences.
Right, that's our new brand, right. Immature talk for mature audiences.
We're staying on brand here.
That's right. Peanut massage ball roller, double lacrosse. I don't know why they call it that. I think they're desperately trying to get away from that cervical peanut moniker that somebody stuck them with the first time around. Somebody needs to talk to people sometimes. Speaking of talking to people,
yeah,
Have you ever talked to somebody at an event where they start out sounding normal and then about 15 minutes in you realize that they're not?
All the time.
I was
All
at
the time.
I was at the home of a friend of the spousal unit. Very nice, accomplished woman, not the nut job, by the way. And she had a guest, someone she had met at an art fair. And to be fair, I cut her some slack because she's not American born. She came here from a European country and English is not her first language. But she seemed to be sort of a normal person. And then she started telling me this whole urban online horsewash crap about how there's a serial killer running around Chicago.
Isn't there always?
Well, there's that too.
I mean,
These are some armchair sleuths who have decided that if your body washes up anywhere on the shores of Lake Michigan or the river, that someone pushed you. They've decided this.
nice.
Yeah, it couldn't be that you slipped and fell. It couldn't be that you had a bout of depression. It couldn't be even that it was just a mugging that went awry. It has to be a serial killer who is deliberately shoving people, which is hilarious on its face because most of the shore of Lake Michigan is flat. So you'd have to push somebody a good 150 yards out into the lake. It's not like it's not like this is the Pacific Coast Highway here, for Pete's sakes.
Well, I think we've talked about the Darwinism of people at the Grand Canyon who fall over the cliff
Yeah,
trying
people
to take selfies.
fall all the time. This woman at the party was completely confident. And I'm thinking, if anybody would have heard about that, it's probably me. I'm pretty attuned to Chicago media, and I love macabre and disgusting stories. And I sometimes, for entertainment, even listen to the police scanner radio. And I also know that sometimes the Chicago police are not forthcoming immediately. And I know this from experience. A few years ago, I was working all nights. That was when I knew you many years ago. And I
Yep.
got out of my car and I had to park it a block or two away. And I ran into two of Chicago's finest who pulled over to kindly inform me that there had been a wave of assaults in the neighborhood. And I said, how come I haven't heard about it? And they said, well, because the guy follows them from the transit station and we've got decoys out and we don't want him to know that we're watching for him. And I said, well, there are like 4 L stations in this neighborhood. Like you got a decoy at every one of them. And I just thought this is ridiculous. So I told people and they got in trouble for that. But I understand why
Snitch.
they wanted to catch the person. But
You're a cop
frankly,
snitch.
I didn't really think it was worth risking the lives of all the women who come home from work on the transit in the dark. I just
Agreed,
did. Yeah.
agreed.
So I got in trouble for that with the cops. And
Yeah, I've had my share of talking to seemingly normal people and realizing they go home and put on tinfoil hats.
sometimes they wear those tinfoil hats right out in public.
That's true too. That's true too.
So I heard this and I kind of filed it away. Okay, I was going to invite this woman over, but now I know she's a nut bucket, so I'm not going to do it. And then,
Did you ask her for proof?
well, she was very sure of herself, and it was a party, and I didn't want to bogart the whole party by going, "You're a nutbag." And besides, what if I was wrong? In the great journalism tradition, which I've been schooled in by my friends who are actual journalists, before I tell somebody they're wrong, I want to make sure that they are wrong.
If your
So-
mom says she loves you,
Look
check
it up.
out.
Right. So I went home and I kind of scrolled around. And then a Facebook friend of mine wrote a thing about her just graduated son who was sort of roaming the city at night and doing long walks. And some woman who, according to her Facebook profile, doesn't even live on this continent said, oh, you better be careful of him wandering around. There's a serial killer loose in Chicago. I'm like, okay, that does it.
I'm sure there's like 15 or 20.
This rumor is all over the place. So you want to be careful. You don't want to say, hey, person I know on Facebook, your other person you know on Facebook is a raving nut bucket. So I said, with all due respect, CBS, a news source with which I am familiar because I have done work for them, debunked this myth recently. And here's their data. The number of people washing up on the shores of Lake Michigan and the river has remained fairly constant for the last 8 years. So, no. And then they did an interview with the medical examiner of Cook County who said, Basically, before they decide that you were murdered in the lake or the river, there has to be some actual sign that something happened to your body.
And see, I would have told this woman, wow, that's really interesting. I think you should sell this scoop to the Weekly World News. You make money with the Weekly World News.
That's true.
Come
I
on.
should tell her.
Aliens.
All I know is I don't want to have her to my house because she's.
Yeah, agreed.
Why would someone believe there's a serial killer that only they know about? Some guy who was allegedly this great investigative armchair sleuth solving crimes. He's agreed to give up his TikTok feed of crimes he's solved himself after it turned out he was promoting his own company in these videos, and because he was getting sued by people at whom he pointed the finger who were perfectly innocent people.
I think that's called slander.
Yeah.
But
again,
I think that you're surprised at all this, though. In your surprise at all of this blatant ignorism,
yes,
you're forgetting that there's like thousands and thousands and thousands of people who still believe the world is flat, including any number of
professional,
NBA players.
Yes,
You know?
professional sports players.
You are giving humans way too much credit.
But I hear these credulous people calling talk shows. You get that all the time. But when I run across one in real life, it's like the Chinese pink river dolphin that you were told was extinct and finding out that your kid just bought one at a pet store.
I don't know. These are like the people that, if he was still around, would be listening to Art Bell in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And calling him.
Yeah. Well, Art Bell.
I used to listen to him all the time. I found him very entertaining.
He was a syndicated radio host who was on in the middle of the night. Yeah, back when people listened to radio.
On AM radio.
Middle of the night.
Less.
Right, exactly.
So you could pick him up and listen to him across country.
Some of his favorite topics were alien encounters and UFOs.
I didn't believe any of it.
You used to think that he didn't believe it, and then you found out that he had a mail order bride. So clearly he believed all kinds of things that he was told, including that some beautiful woman from a country I will not name, who is like 20-something years of age, would find a 70-something-year-old desert-parched geezer attractive strictly for his personality.
He had wild theories on everything. But most of the time, at least the ones that I listened to, were all about space and aliens and UFOs. And because he was on in the middle of the night, it's mostly truckers that would be calling in with their alien experience.
Best argument yet for those AI-powered cyber trucks. They may hit 1 out of every 12 pedestrians that crosses their path, but at least aliens don't bother them. Assuming you've come this far because you enjoy the podcast, may we recommend my book, She Said What? A Life on the Air. It's available at your neighborhood bookstore or on Amazon. And if you're feeling especially generous, please leave the podcast a good review. Thanks.